Awesome, awesome. And so we'll do a 3, 2, 1, and then I'm going to edit this part out and everything else. So we're going to do a 3, 2, 1 virtual, and then from there we'll take off. All
Great.
right. So we'll start in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest. He is known as the health guy. His name is David Medansky. See, I always mess up people's last names, so you can correct me if you want to. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have some fun. But yeah, he is here today. This man has an amazing weight loss journey. He has an amazing journey, all in all. I mean, so many things, and you guys are going to get a whole lot out of this episode. So sit back, grab your pen, and enjoy the conversation. How you doing today, David?
I'm doing great, Tony. Thanks for having me as a guest today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, where are you from?
I'm from Chicago originally, and now I reside in near Phoenix, Arizona. I've been here since December of 1988.
Wow. Is it nice out there?
Not today. Today it's windy and cloudy. Usually it is nice.
I was like, I've been in Arizona. You know, I would travel out to Arizona when it got cold here because it was warm there, you know. As you can tell, I'm a tropical person. I like the heat a little bit, not too much though, you know. So we've been talking, and like I said, I got your bio. We've had an excellent conversation, and so your weight loss journey. I mean,
Yes.
you've had doctors tell you to go find other doctors and things like that. Let's dive into that.
Sure. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I was fit and trim. However, like most people, life gets in the way with family obligations and work responsibilities. And I started eating more fast foods and convenient foods and stopped exercising. And before I realized that the weight crept up on me. And then in July of 2016, at age 61, my doctor told me, based on my lab results and being fat, I had a 95% chance for a fatal heart attack. So he gave me two options. He said, you can lose weight or find a new doctor. And he strongly encouraged me to find a new doctor because he had been after me for 8 years to lose the weight. And if I did lose weight on a diet, I gained it all back. And sometimes I gained even more. However, this time was different. The light bulb went off, and I realized the severity of the situation. During the next 4 months, I shed 50 pounds, 25% of my total body weight. More importantly, I've kept it off. So what I did after I lost the weight, I went back and started reading my books that I had from the 1970s on health and fitness, books by Paul and Patricia Bragg, Jack LaLanne, Richard Simmons, and William Duffy's Sugar Blues. Then I started reading books from authors today, and they were talking about their programs, their methods, their systems, their products, and it made it sound like you would fail if you didn't use their programs or methods or products, whereas the authors from the 70s were talking about basic concepts.
Right.
So I got frustrated and I started doing more research. My background is as a lawyer. So I'm able to distinguish between the honest and less than honest that's out there. And I came up with what I call the 9 golden rules of weight loss for people who love to eat. And when people see and hear the 9 golden rules, they're like, well, I know that. And I understand you know it because we all know what to do to eat healthier, have a healthier lifestyle. We just don't do it. And that's where I help people figure out their underlying issues as to why. And again, very simple, not easy. Because if it was easy, we all be healthier and thinner.
True.
And so I can go through the 9 golden rules with you. And
Most definitely, because that's exciting because, I mean, the struggle that most people have is, like you said, getting the weight off, but having the weight come back. And so just like yourself, helping people understand that, hey, you can keep the weight off. You just got to take some extra steps, you know, and it's not as hard as what people think it is. So
no,
I'm excited. I'm totally excited. So yeah.
Exactly. And here's something you may not know, your audience may not know, is the average person will attempt 4 to 5 new diets each year. And over a lifetime, the average person will attempt 126 different diets.
Holy crap.
So what that means to me is diets don't work because they're extreme, they're temporary, they're hard to stick with, and a lot of them are potentially dangerous to our health.
This is very true. This is very true. I had a concept. I always tell my personal training clients, eat the foods that you want. Just take out the stuff that don't need to be in there, like the extra salt and things like that, because it stores itself, right? And water is a huge thing as well, So I tell people, like, let's watch that. But yeah, let's talk about it, man.
Yeah. And just one more thing for the audience, as I mentioned to you, last June in 2022 at age 67, I hiked up Mount Kilimanjaro. So people cannot use age as an excuse for not having a healthier lifestyle and enjoying life to the fullest.
You're making me look bad now. You know what I'm saying? You're making me look bad. I'm like, I've done that as well.
But you mentioned the first golden rule, and that's to drink more pure water, because our bodies are 60 to 70% water, not soda, diet soda, fruit juices, or milk, pure water. And what happens a lot of times when we think we're hungry, we're actually thirsty. And there's a direct correlation to people being dehydrated and being overweight. 75% of the US adult population is chronically dehydrated. And that's the direct correlation to 72% of the US adult population being overweight.
Wow.
And the other thing is, water acts as a natural appetite suppressant. So you don't need to go on those expensive drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy.
Yeah. I'm not a firm believer in people taking drugs to lose the weight. I've just seen too many adverse side effects and things like that. And, coming from a place where I don't really trust medications, pharmaceuticals anyway, I love the more natural approach,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So golden rule number 2 is to avoid the highly processed and manufactured foods.
I like that.
Golden rule number 3, eat real, holistic, whole foods. If you can do organic, great. If you don't want to spend the extra money on organic, just eat real food. Avoid the imitation fake meats, the plant-based imitation other foods.
Now, I got a question, because there's, with the foods that are out there now, a lot of it's been, how should I say, a lot of it's not good for you. And things like that. How do you get around that? Because they're modifying chicken, they're beef and things like that, cloning meats. So how do you get around that to get to the better foods?
Well, I look for grass-fed for beef.
Okay.
And for chicken, I look for organic, range-free, as opposed to the range-free that isn't organic.
Okay.
And to be honest, I don't eat a whole lot of chicken because I don't like what they've done to the chickens. If you look at the size of a chicken in the 1940s, and you look at a size of a chicken now, it's about 4 times as big now as it was back then.
I wasn't going to say nothing, but I've seen that. These chickens walk around with muscles almost big as mine. I'm going, okay, that's not a normal chicken.
Yeah.
That is not a normal chicken.
Chicken breast, and I said, I'm not touching that stuff. It was huge. So that's not normal.
No, as a matter of fact, I'm glad that you said it, because I was in the store yesterday and I was buying some groceries and everything because I cook my own food. And they had one chicken breast in there, this doggone big, right? And so I was like, well, I'm gonna go get some wings. Maybe I can do that, make some wings and everything. And I went in there, and one of the drumsticks on this doggone wing was this big. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna eat that neither, I'm not about to do that.
Well, yeah, they pump the chickens up with a lot of water, a lot of sodium, a lot of hormones and other chemicals to make them bigger and fatter, because then they get more money for it.
Yeah. And there was a report done on a company out here, and it showed them injecting the chicken breast to get more weight out of it. Oh my God, man. That's scary.
Well, it is. And if you look at the labels when you're at the grocery store, and you read them carefully, a lot of them will say 15 to 20% water added.
Jesus, man. What?
And when you look at fish, make sure it's wild caught and avoid anything that's farm raised.
Yes. I'm an avid fisherman. I love going out fishing. I won't eat anything out of the store because of what you just said right there. I've gotten sick once or twice. And so, I was like, if I don't catch it, I won't eat it, you know?
Yeah. The other thing is you got to be careful of the marketing ploys and gimmicks, because people think Atlantic salmon is wild caught. That's just another name for farm raised.
I realized that too. I love that you just said that, because you confirmed something that, I wanted to bring out there, but people thought I was crazy. They was like, oh, it's salmon. It has to be good for you. I was like, no. I was like, that salmon that you're eating right there is not okay. I mean, if you look at it, it's something wrong with it. So I had a couple of friends and we went out to Alaska one time, and we was fishing for steelhead. And I'll tell you, we bought it. When I bought it back here, I showed people, I said, I will show you the difference between the store-bought salmon and the actual wild caught salmon. And they really understood what I was saying. I said, you understand the color of the meat,
Yeah.
and then you see the texture of it. One does not look like that it has anything in it. It just looks pretty. But
Right.
this one right here, you press on it, it's nice and firm, and it's a lot healthier for you. So yeah, I definitely like that.
Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting is my wife and I were at the grocery store, and they had the salmon on sale. And she says, oh, should we get some? I said, no, that's farm raised. It's Atlantic salmon. And she says, what's wrong with that? I said, I won't touch it. And the butcher behind the counter said, he's right. He says, if you saw what this looks like before they added the color, you wouldn't touch it.
Oh man, I love that. I love that.
The other thing is with eggs, people get misled with eggs. They think if it's range free or cage free, even if it's organic, it's healthy. It's not. All that means is that the hen has the opportunity to go outside. What you want to get is the pasture eggs. And it'll say on the carton, 108 square feet per hen. And they forage for their own food. So they forage for the bugs, the worms, the grass. That's what they eat. Where the cage free or range free, if you look at the cartons carefully, it'll sometimes say grain fed or special feed. And that's just corn and soy that they're feeding.
Oof.
So again, people don't realize because of the marketing ploys they use and gimmicks to manipulate the public.
Yeah. And I'm a big egg guy. I have a local farmer, and she always tells me, come on by, grab some eggs, Tony. So I go by there. She gives me dozens and dozens of eggs and stuff like that. And, but I did my research on her as well, because I wanted to make sure what I'm putting into my body is what needs to be in the body. And just like what you said right there, and thanks for that confirmation, because that makes me feel so much better, because, I go through probably, 16 eggs in the morning, and that's just my regular meal, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I like that. Definitely like that.
Then number 4 is to eat slow, because we all have a tendency to eat fast.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I call it mindless eating. We'll look down in the food that we're on our desk when we're working, or the snack that people eat, the bag of potato chips or a box of cookies is gone. It's like, well, where did it go? Well, you ate it without realizing it.
Oh, wow.
Because it takes our brain about 20 minutes to realize that our stomach is full.
Okay. See, I was always taught when I was bodybuilding, you get up to 12, 13, 14 meals a day, you're eating every hour. So, and your meals are very substantial. And so eat fast, got to eat fast. So I like that. I definitely like that. That actually, makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah. And then the number 5, golden rule number 5 is to eat small portions. Our portion size have been supersized without us realizing it. And the reason I say that is the average size dinner plate in the 1900s was 9 inches in diameter. In the US today, the average dinner size plate is 12 inches in diameter. Yet in Europe, except for the UK, their dinner plates are still 9 inches in diameter.
Really?
And if you go to a restaurant, the average serving plate is between 13 and 15 inches.
Ooh.
So what I tell people is get a to-go box right away, cut your meal in half, take half to go, and enjoy the rest. Now you have a smaller portion, and you get 2 meals for the price of one, so you're saving money.
That I always like that. Yes, I'm gonna have to pay. I don't go out to eat very much, but now that you bring it to my attention, I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that. Thank you.
Yeah, the other thing that they do, the fast food places like McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Carl Jr.'s, they do the 2-for-1 sandwiches.
Yeah.
And what happens is, people buy both sandwiches and eat both of them. And you don't need to do that.
Yes, I am guilty.
I am too.
I am guilty. It's nothing for me. Like those two sandwiches don't do anything for me. I'm a growing kid, like I tell people. And so I'll eat six to eight of them in one sitting and have like 3 things of fries. I don't drink a lot of soda. But if I had the choice, I like the less carbonated ones, like Sprite. It has no caffeine in it, and a lot less sugar as well. And I know that's a big, huge factor in the weight gain.
Yes. And even a diet soda will cause weight gain. And people will ask me, well, how does a 0-calorie diet soda cause weight gain? And that's because of the aspartame in there, which is the artificial sweetener. And aspartame has 92 known side effects. And what happens is it deprives your body or prevents your body from absorbing vitamins, minerals, and nutrients.
Yes.
So now your body's in starvation mode because it's not getting the right fuel for it, the right nutrients. So it's fighting like heck to keep the weight on. And the aspartame increases your cravings for sweetness. So now you're going to crave the donuts, the cakes, the cookies, the candy, and everything else, the ice cream. So the diet soda is detrimental to your health and it should be avoided.
Yeah. And aspartame is actually bad for your heart as well. I've done some research on that for quite some time, just to make sure, when I put together programs that people understand, like stay away from this stuff here. And this is the reason why. Because, a lot of people always ask me as well, they're like, but it's diet, like it can't be bad for me. It says diet in there. I was like, that's a lot worse for you than just picking up a Pepsi and drinking it, right? I was like, so pick and choose your battles, and so keeping people on the right path.
Exactly. And the best way to do that is just to avoid all soda, just drink water.
I like that. I just now started doing that. I got like 3 cases over there and every day I'm guzzling down and so I like that.
So golden rule number 5 was to eat small portions. Golden rule number 6 is to get adequate sleep. You need at least 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. What they found in doing research is the average person who's sleep deprived will consume an extra 500 calories the next day.
That makes sense. Because I sleep maybe 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
But I'm up 20 hours a day moving around as well. So, and I'm a taller guy. My metabolism, knows what it needs to do in order to keep going. So it'll burn that extra fat off. And I don't do a whole lot of sugars anyway. I don't like processed sugars. There's something wrong about that.
Exactly. Even the sugar replacements, stevia is healthy. However, what they've done to stevia now is made blends out of it. And sometimes they'll say stevia blend. Sometimes they'll just say stevia, but it's actually a blend. So you need to look at the back and make sure what's in the ingredients. And sometimes it'll say sucrose, dextrose, fructose, combination of all 3 and the stevia. So again, it's marketing ploys and it's misleading. Usually at the grocery store, you cannot get pure stevia. Usually I have to go to Sprouts or Whole Foods or a health food store to get it.
Now, what do you think about cane sugar?
The raw cane sugar is healthier than the refined processed white sugar.
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes when I'm baking, I'll use the cane sugar. I generally don't bake, and I usually don't put sugar. I use honey or blackstrap molasses. Ground cinnamon is excellent in coffee as a sweetener. Okay. And plus the Ceylon cinnamon acts as a metabolism booster.
Yes. I like the honey because it also has, as we was talking about before, I'm battling this sinus infection.
Yeah.
So I get the raw honey. I have a place right down the street, and this person has their own little honey bee sanctuary for the most part. So I wait for them to get the honey out there because putting those natural allergens in there. And that's another benefit from having the honey as well. Now, far as molasses, because there's so many different companies out there with molasses, what is the best way to get some really good natural molasses without all the extra stuff in it?
I usually just would go to Sprouts or Whole Foods or a health food store and get the organic blackstrap molasses. There's different brands, but that's what I look for.
Okay. Okay. All right.
It's a little bit sticky. It gets messy, but it's a healthier alternative. And raw honey, as long as it's not the stuff in a bottle that you can pour, as
Yeah.
long as it's thick and solid, is very healthy for you. And if you take a tablespoon before you go to sleep at night, it'll help you sleep better,
Ooh.
which I know sounds counterintuitive.
No, it doesn't. It makes actually perfect sense because of the natural properties of the honey.
Exactly.
And I know in some countries, they actually do use that in many different ways in medicines, things like that. And so and I'm trying to get to that level. That's what I'm trying to do.
Exactly. Then number 7 is to rest to digest. And what that is, it's a 12-hour or more intermittent fast. And it's very easy to do. The way I explain it is if you stop eating 3 hours before you go to sleep and you get 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep, and your first meal, which is the breakfast, is 2 or 3 hours after you wake up, that's 12 hours or longer. And what happens is a lot of people wake up and they think they're hungry. They're thirsty. So you should drink a minimum of 8 ounces to rehydrate. It also acts as an appetite suppressant. So you're not hungry for a couple hours. When I get up, I drink 20 ounces right away. Then I take the dogs out for a walk. Then I come back and I have another 20 ounces. So I've had 40 ounces within the first hour. Now, I'm not telling people they need to go do that. I've built up to it.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah. And I gulp the water. I can drink a 20-ounce glass of water in about 10 seconds.
Oof. See, I see my first instinct when I get the water, I want to add something to it, to make it taste a little bit better.
Well, fresh lemon juice is very good, or, put it in the refrigerator overnight with some lemons and oranges and watermelon or berries, cucumbers. When people go on vacation to resorts, they usually have a big, jug of water with all the fruits and berries in there.
Right.
So why don't you do that at home for yourself?
See, also doesn't it alkaline the water? It alkaline.
Yes.
Okay.
The lemon is a natural pH balancer. So when people tell me they're buying alkaline water, in my opinion, because I don't want to get sued,
me neither.
It's a gimmick, because if you put lemon juice in the water, it will balance the pH in your stomach naturally.
I like that. All right.
And the water should be, you should drink it at room temperature and avoid putting ice in it.
Okay.
Now,
that's a huge thing. Some people will throw ice in there on a hot day, which will actually lower their body temperature, correct?
Well, that was the next thing, except if you're exercising or a pro athlete, then cold water does lower the body temperature, then it's healthier. But for most of us, room temperature is the healthiest.
Okay, I like that. You guys pay attention to them. It's spitting some knowledge over here, man. So
yeah, so let's give an example. Let's say you go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. You stop eating at 7 o'clock at night. Then your first meal would be at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning.
See, I'm still trying to get off that routine. I still get up at about 4 o'clock. Well, actually, I get up at, when I do sleep my 4 hours, I get up at, I get up 3:30 in the morning. I do some fasted cardio.
Yeah.
Then I have my first meal.
Drink water instead.
Drink water is okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
see
try
how that works.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that. I've never tried it. I normally get up and I meal prep. So when I get up, I do my fasted cardio, and the first thing I do is grab my meal and start eating it. But it's habitual, it's something that I've done for years. When I was bodybuilding.
And based on my research, they say that you should eat about 20 minutes after you do strenuous exercise.
Okay. All right.
So
I like that. Yeah.
Number 8 is to think positive. And the reason I say that is research also shows 80% of our thoughts are negative. So imagine if we turned it around, made 80% of our thoughts positive.
I like that as well.
So what I usually tell people is instead of focusing on what you're not allowed to have, such as the candy bars, the cake, the pretzels, the potato chips, the cookies, focus on what you do enjoy that you can have, the apple, the banana, the pear,
Mm-hmm.
the fresh berries, the raw unsalted nuts for snacks. So if you focus on what you can have, then you're not thinking about the things that you shouldn't have.
I like that. Yeah.
And
Positive
then
thinking.
number 9, walk every day, because walking is one of the most underrated physical activities you can do that has a lot of health benefits.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah. With the
yeah,
days
because
of all these cars and everything, people don't like to walk anymore.
well, instead of going to the gym and feeling like you have to lift weights and everything,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, exercise and physical fitness is great for overall health and wellness. However, Rebel Wilson lost 77 pounds in 1 year walking an hour each day. And I realize not everybody may have an hour to walk at one time. Mindy Kalis lost weight. And what she did was when she had a 10 or 15-minute break, instead of going on social media or texting friends, she would go for a 10 or 15-minute walk. Well, if you do that 4 or 5 times throughout the day, you're getting your hour of walking. It doesn't have to be all at one time.
Okay.
And the other thing is, going to the gym and exercising to lose weight is a myth. And the reason I say that is people make New Year's resolutions and they go to the gym, they're eating healthy, and 3 weeks later they get on the scale and the scale says they haven't lost any weight. Now they get frustrated. And what's happening is they're replacing the fat with muscle. And as you know, Tony, fat and muscle weigh the exact same amount. 5 pounds is 5 pounds. The difference is muscle takes up a lot less room because it's denser. So I had a client that went through this when they were working with me. And after 3 weeks, they were frustrated because the scale did not move. And I asked him, I said, Dave, because his name was David also, are you exercising? He goes, yeah, I'm walking 5 miles a day. I'm riding my bike. I said, how do your clothes feel? He goes, oh, they're loose. In fact, people are asking me if I'm losing weight. The scale says I'm not. I said, don't go by the scale. The scale's lying to you. Go by how your clothes fit and how your energy level is, which was a lot higher. And then a couple of weeks later, the scale did start adjusting, going downward. So people, get frustrated and then they stop because they don't give it enough time to see the results from the small little changes going on in their body that aren't noticeable. And yet, if they went a little bit further and gave it more time, they would see the noticeable results.
I like that. And then when people see the scale, do you think people focus too much on the scale? Because
Yes.
I know a lot of people want that the instant results, right? They want the overnight thing. And so I'm right there with you. Don't concentrate on the scale. As a matter of fact, I've often recommended to a few of my clients, don't get on the scale until 2 weeks. And then monitor it every 2 weeks. If you get up there every day, you're going to be disappointed because your body needs time to adjust.
Exactly. Weight fluctuates.
Mm-hmm.
So what I usually tell people, and this is the problem today, is the national brands advertise lose 10, 15, 20, 30 pounds your first month guaranteed. Right. You'll lose the weight. Number one, it's not healthy. And number two, it's not sustainable unless you're significantly obese. A 400 or 500 pound person losing 30 pounds is not significant for their body weight.
Right.
Compared to someone who may be 225 or 250 pounds, big difference. So usually what I tell people is, look, we didn't put our weight on overnight. What makes you think you can lose it overnight? The other thing is, think of it this way. I ask people, would you like to weigh 24 to 48 pounds lighter by this time next year? And most people who want to lose weight say, yeah, that'd be great. Okay, can you lose 2, 3, 4 pounds per month on average? Because some months you'll lose more, some less, some not at all, because your body hits those weight plateaus.
Mm-hmm.
On average, for 12 months, if you lose 2 to 4 pounds, that's 24 to 48 pounds lighter if you just give it a full year to see the progress.
Okay. Now, I guess my next question is, because my weight will fluctuate. And it all depends. It all depends on what I'm doing for that day. So I will fluctuate I would drop maybe, 3-4 pounds a week, and then the next week I'll put on 2 to 3 pounds, and so it kind of goes like that. And I was always curious, is it a metabolism thing?
No, it's probably water.
Probably water.
So if I weigh myself first thing in the morning before I drink my water,
Mm-hmm.
and then I drink my 40 ounces and weigh myself, an hour and a half later,
Mm-hmm.
I'll weigh 2 pounds more.
I,
If you have a lot of sodium for a meal the night before,
uh,
you'll retain the water.
mm,
So a lot of times when people feel a little bit bloated, if you give it a day or two, if you don't eat more sodium, then you'll release the water and you'll be lighter and you'll feel lighter.
right.
So the water weight is what causes the fluctuations.
Yes, I can definitely agree with that. I'm so guilty of all of that, because I will, I use Himalayan salt, pink salt, because I'm not a real big salt fan, and so I'm always trying to monitor to make sure that my blood pressure is where it needs to be, because I am getting older as well. So I know that's a factor in there, and so I try to find the healthiest alternatives, of replacing bleach salt,
Yeah,
processed salt, and replace it with the more natural sea salts.
exactly. And the problem also today is people do not know how to read nutrition fact panels or labels. They usually look at the calories, the sodium, the
Uh,
sugar, the grams of protein, the fat. Very few people read the ingredients of what's in there. And that's in the very small fine print. And that's very small fine print for a reason.
but that leads into the next question, because when I was reading up on you, you was talking about the honest and the dishonest products out there. We're not going to throw nobody out there because I don't want to get sued neither. So let's jump into the dishonest things, companies. Not by name though.
Well, tuna fish, if it says packed in water on the front,
Uh-huh.
if you read the back, a lot of times they'll say tuna, water, vegetable broth, and sea salt.
Hmm.
They can put up to 168 different compounds in that vegetable broth and not disclose it. So I always look for the tuna that says water, tuna, and maybe sea salt.
Okay.
So I don't want to put the vegetable broth that I don't know what's in there in
Hmm.
my body.
Yes.
Um, Oreo cookies are more addicting than cocaine.
I've never tried the cocaine, but I
I
have
haven't
tried
either, but
Oreos.
the research shows. The other thing is our food, I call it edible products. They're being scientifically engineered to optimize our cravings for fat, salt, sugar, and texture. So when they say, bet you can't eat just one potato chip, it's not a dare, it's a fact. That's why I do not touch Pringles potato chips because I'm addicted to them. Same thing with M&Ms, Hershey bars. I used to go through an entire canister of Pringles potato chips and still want more. I can go through a pound bag of M&Ms and still want more. And that's because of what they do to make it addicting.
Mm.
So I treat myself almost like an alcoholic. You can't give an alcoholic one drink because they won't stop. So for me, there's certain foods I'm not going to touch. I won't stop.
That's good discipline. I wish I could say the same, because I still like a Hershey. Well, I still like my Snicker bars with the almonds in it from time to time. So I'm guilty. I am definitely guilty. But a lot of that too, what I noticed when I got into learning about supplementations and things like that, it was the truth in labeling
Yeah.
that companies put up there, and I'm right there with you. They could say this, but they can put as much as they want in there. So how do you
Well,
get around that?
well, again, read the ingredients
Yeah.
because that'll tell you everything you need to know. I have a lot of clients that will say to me, I have this protein bar or this energy bar or this snack bar. What do you think? Because they're seeing the front of it. It'll say this many grams of protein, this many grams of, sugar, fat, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, okay, what's in it? And then they turn over and start reading all the ingredients. And when I hear the ingredients, like, that's not healthy for you. It's got high fructose corn syrup. It's got, dextrose in it. It's got, other things that aren't healthy. I said, in fact, there was a Facebook post recently for a protein bar. And the way they did the post, it made it look like there were only 6 ingredients. So I clicked on it and I went to the site that it brought me to, and I saw the label for the ingredients. And when I looked at all the ingredients in there, it had canola oil in there. It had sunflower oil in there. It had high fructose corn syrup, and high fructose corn syrup now has many, many different names because they try to hide it from the public. So again, it's misleading marketing.
Yeah.
They give you what they want you to see, and they don't tell you what you shouldn't see. So for example, box of pasta at the grocery store, spaghetti, on the front it'll say 0 sodium, 0 grams of fat, this much protein. And you're thinking, oh, that 0 sugar must be healthy. What they don't tell you, if you read the back, it's 44 grams of carbohydrates. And those are simple carbohydrates, not complex carbohydrates. And simple carbohydrates turn to sugar immediately. So it's unhealthy for you. And there's a difference between a complex carbohydrate, which is a berry, a fruit, a nut, versus a simple carbohydrate, which is refined sugar. And I don't want to sound like I'm a food purist. I'm not. I enjoy a piece of chocolate cake or apple pie or pecan pie or pumpkin pie. The difference is I eat it once in a while, and I only eat a sliver instead of the whole piece.
Okay, see, I'm not disciplined. Like when I was coming up, my grandmothers used to make these pecan pies from scratch, and that's what my heart is all the time, man.
If it's from scratch, it's probably very healthy for you as opposed to the store-bought stuff.
You need to see my family. You wouldn't say that. You'd be like, oh, we know what a pecan pies would too. I got the little gut. I'm like,
but that's that's what I'm saying. I mean, you don't have to deprive yourself. And once in a while, a scoop of ice cream. But I have a scoop of ice cream instead of a whole pint or a whole half gallon. I used to go through a half gallon of Breyer's mint chocolate chip and still want more.
That right there, that was my heart. That and butter pecan.
Yeah, and Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry's. I mean, like I said, I would go through a whole pint in one sitting.
See, my mouth started watering. You gotta stop that. You'll get in trouble. We over here trying to talk healthy stuff, and you bring it out. My mouth said,
Well, that's another thing I help people. We figure out what the triggers are. Certain words or certain things will trigger a person to go back to eating unhealthy. So we want to look for words that we can replace those trigger words with empowering words.
I like that. Speaking positivity, understanding, but also receiving. I definitely like that.
Yeah.
You wrote a book. Well, actually, you studied law, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm studied law, got my JD, passed the Arizona State Bar, practiced law for 13 years. I'm also a world-class expert at playing casino craps.
Ooh, see, better stop that.
Yeah, I actually wrote 6 books on that. So, and I tell people only 1 or 2% of people can do what I do, and everybody believes that they're that 1 or 2% that has the discipline to make money at the table.
See, you know what? That's the part of me that I had to understand. I am a compulsive gambler. I am not within the 2%. I am probably within the 98% that'll go out there and just make reckless bets and things like that, and hopefully that I get lucky, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm, with that, I've avoided that so long,
That's smart. And what I tell people, if you know what you're doing, it's risk management. If you don't know what you're doing, it's gambling. And the example I give is a lot of people, and this is before they had the casinos for the Indian tribes and the local casinos, people will go to Las Vegas and they say, I'll take so much money, and when I lose, I'll stop.
Right.
Well, to me, that's a defeatist attitude. Other people would say, well, I want to make as much as possible. Well, what does that mean? I was at a table where I saw someone was up $10,000 and I saw him an hour later and he lost it all. So I usually would set a goal of 10 or 20% of my buy-in, and then I would stop. I mean, would you be happy making 10 or 20% on your money within a year?
Well, yeah.
Well, then why wouldn't you be happy making 10 or 20% on your money in one day?
I like the logic.
Well, that's it. People don't look at it that way, though.
Yeah, I like the logic. I've just always avoided it. I learned when I was younger, playing craps, blackjack, and certain things like that, right? And then when I figured out that the casinos, you got the little slots and everything. Oh man, roulette, all of those things. I mean, there's been so many times that I've gone in there and never had the real logic about it. It was like, oh, I got 20 grand, and I'll make 50, 60,000, and then I'll lose it. And then my first instinct was to go to the ATM, pull out more money to put it in there, right? But that was, that's that addictive personality. I love gambling. And so that's what I said. I've just avoided it. I'll look at it and keep going.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, I'm reckless.
Yeah, that's why I tell people. Well, yeah, I wrote 4 books. This is the most recent one. To Stop Dieting, Start Thinning. Yeah. And it's actually been endorsed and recommended by Hal Elrod, who wrote The Miracle Morning.
Yes.
So the book also not only tells you what to do, it tells you how to do it.
Okay, I like that.
And the important part also is accountability. If you have an accountability partner, and it doesn't even have to be someone that's on a weight loss journey with you, just somebody you have to talk to and report to.
Okay.
It tells you how to find an accountability partner and how to actually have an accountability partner phone call.
What's the best way for people to find accountability partners? Because I've seen it go both ways. And that's just bad judgment on other people's ends and things like that. So what is the best way that people can find an accountability partner?
The best way is to find somebody that will show up on time and will keep you accountable by asking you a few questions. And the question is, did you do what you said you were going to do last week? It's yes or no. No excuses. Okay. If you did, great. If you didn't, what happened? What were the facts? The next question is, what did you learn from that? And how will you apply that next week to improve? Okay. Basically, that's how the call should go. It should last no more than 5 minutes. It's not socializing. It's not chit-chatting. It's just business. Okay. And so you just want someone that you can rely on that's not going to let you make excuses, not going to, you can be empathetic and sympathize, but not let you make up a story. It's either you did what you were going to do or you didn't. What was the lesson you learned from it? And how will you apply that lesson in the future?
Now, what about self-accountability? Because I know a lot of times I used to write down my day-to-day.
They found that people that journal, whether it be electronically, digitally, or handwritten, have a 90% higher success rate than those who don't.
Okay.
And what happens is you start seeing patterns. And so people on their own started changing their habits when they were writing things down. And people that would go for a candy bar at 10 o'clock or mid-morning break usually brought a healthy snack and kept it in their desk drawer instead of reaching for the snack machine or vending machine.
Okay.
And so when you write things down, then it's like, you got to be accountable to yourself. Right. And what I tell people is it's not what you do when people are watching. It's what you do when no one is watching. Especially at midnight when you want to go get that piece of chocolate cake in the refrigerator.
Yeah, normally if that chocolate cake is in the refrigerator, I am not the one you want to let know. I'm like the kid that would go to the refrigerator when everyone's asleep and pull out the whole plate with a fork and start, chowing down on it. So when the next morning comes in, there's like that much left. And then, I try to blame everybody else, And then they go, Tony, you have chocolate? That was from the Snickers I had earlier.
So when you cut the cake, you cut a little sliver and say, this is for you. And then the rest is for me.
No, I don't even do that. I don't even do that. I just sit around, and I close the refrigerator door in the dark and I just.
That's how I am with my ice cream. I used to eat right out of the half gallon or right out of the pint. I don't need a bowl.
Yeah, I don't need no bowl. Who needs a bowl? We got this. But yeah, I've gotten in a lot of trouble, especially when I was a kid. I think my mother made the mistake of, she used to bake me these German chocolate cakes and for my birthday. And then she would bake another separate cake for her and my sister and the rest of the family. So she never told me no. So, I would get myself in trouble. I would, because like I said, I am that guy that would go there and with the fork and everything and walk around with it. Or I'm usually hiding from people because, I didn't want to share.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I did that. I would hide my M&Ms in the desk drawer or somewhere else because I didn't want people knowing I was eating it.
That is truly awesome. At least I don't now,
No, and I don't either, obviously. My philosophy now is I'm growing younger as I get older.
And like I said, you look fabulous, man.
Thank you.
And just so you guys know, this Dave is how old now?
I'm 67. I'll be 68 in a week.
And happy early birthday.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Now that I know, I'm going to next week. I'm like, I don't know what day it is, but I'm going to wish you a happy birthday. Eventually one of those days, you're like, yeah, it's my,
it's on Friday next week.
Oh, well, now I know. No, you will be getting a call from me, just so you know, just so I can be like, hey, brother, how you doing? Happy birthday. Since you're in Arizona. So we're going to have to do the virtual birthday.
Well, actually, my wife and I will be in Italy.
Oh.
We're going to go see Pompeii. She's always wanted to do that. So we're going to go for a short trip, and I'll be there on my birthday, which is Good Friday, and we'll be there for Easter too.
Okay. I like that, man. Congratulations, man. And you, as I said before, you look fabulous. You look fabulous.
Thank you.
I would never have guessed it. I would never have guessed it at all. So good job on what you're doing, and I am so glad that you're out there doing the work and helping people stay healthy. But also, stay on the track of being healthy, losing weight and things like that, because I've seen people go and do gastric bypass surgery and things like that. But I've also seen the results from that as well. Like they lose the weight, but they have the extra skin.
Or they lose the weight and then they revert back to their old eating habits, and then they gain it all back, and then they have to do the surgery again.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people that have gone 2 or 3 times through the surgery. Jeez. It's not healthy.
No.
So it's a lifestyle. Look at it this way. A diet is like a sprint. There's a finish line.
Right.
And when people get to their finish line, their goal of reaching their weight reduction, they stop and they go back to their old eating habits. If you look at a lifestyle as a marathon, you just keep going and going, except in this marathon, there's no finish line.
Mm. I like that. Do people get discouraged when you tell them that there's no finish line, that this is something that you can continue doing? I've seen that happen as well. How long do I have to do this and things like that, No.
And the reason I say that is I help people create habits that they enjoy, habits that they like and that work for them, because everybody's different. Right. And that way they keep doing it. It's not something they don't want to do. What I tell people is, look, if you don't like something that is healthy for you, don't eat it. If you don't like the kale, you don't like the Brussels sprouts, don't eat it. I don't like kale. I don't like Brussels sprouts. I don't eat it. Mm. Focus on the healthy foods that you do like.
Okay.
And that's the difference. Okay. Yeah.
What do you think about smoothies? Like, throwing berries in, because I still use protein powder, but I have a more organic protein powder.
Yeah. Smoothies are excellent if you put the right ingredients in it. I use protein powder too. It's plant-based.
Yes. And
I throw it in a blender bottle with some other ingredients, some of the brewer's yeast and some chia seeds and some a little bit of mint to give it a taste, and 100% of the organic cacao because I love chocolate.
Yes.
And then I just shake it up and I drink it. So I don't have to mess with the blender. It's room temperature. It's not cold. There's no ice in it. I use water. I don't use any milk or almond milk or cashew milk or soy milk or any of that stuff. And the reason I stopped using that stuff was I was seeing a naturopathic doctor, and I was telling him, yeah, I'm drinking the almond milk, I'm doing this. And he goes, it's all processed. I said, well, isn't it healthy for you? He goes, no, it's processed. If you knew what they did to it, you wouldn't be drinking it. I said, okay. So I stopped drinking it.
I learned that when they came out with almond milk and cashew milk. I used to look at it and people go, well, do you want to? I said, no, I don't even drink that milk. I don't drink dairy. I'm a big firm believer. Yeah. That milk is not made for us.
No.
That is not made for us. And people go, well, it's good for you. I was like, look, check it out. We're the only race that drink milk from other animals. We're the only race that does it. And it's not meant for us. So there has to be something in there. And I learned this. I learned that they were putting enzymes in there. So when it's going into the body, it can kind of disguise itself.
Yeah.
And I just had too many bad things. And I said, and on top of that, where's you getting the almond? Where's you getting the milk out of the almond? What that don't
they're adding to it after they crush it up.
Right. Yeah, I don't know where they're getting it from. I'm like, have you ever seen an almond that big? You ain't getting no milk out of there. I don't even know where the milk came from. And then soy. And this is something I learned the hard way when my son was younger. His mother used to give him soy milk, and he would have these emotional outbursts like he was never himself. So I figured that one out. I told his mother, I said, you can't put him on soy milk because it's full of estrogen. And so what you're doing, you're throwing his balance off. And so you're not letting his testosterone develop the way that it needs to because you're overwhelming him with the estrogen.
Exactly. No, I agree 100% with you. And that's, again, the marketing gimmicks that they put out there, the commercials making it sound like it's healthier for you when it's not.
Dishonest advertising.
Now, yeah. I do eat raw cheese as a treat occasionally.
Okay.
I do like plain yogurt that's whole milk, not non-fat.
Mm-hmm.
They find it, that is healthy for some people. Some people are intolerant to it.
Yeah.
And again, with protein powders, you have to be careful. And the reason I say that is a lot of them have the whey protein in there, which is a milk byproduct. And I had a client that needed to reduce weight so she can get a hip replacement because she was too big. And she needed to lose 30 pounds. And she says, well, I'm drinking my protein drinks. And I said, well, what kind of protein is in there? She says, what do you mean? I said, well, there's different protein. Does it have whey? And she goes, oh, yeah. I said, well, bodybuilders use a lot of whey protein to add muscle.
Yes.
And so I said, switch to a plant-based. I gave her a recommendation, and she lost to 30 pounds in about 2 months. So she was able to have the hip replacement just by making that one little change.
Right. Just those little tweaks, man. I love that. And I enjoy it. Like I said, I enjoy it, man. I enjoy these conversations and everything.
And think of it this way, Tony, the 9 golden rules, that's just a healthy lifestyle. The weight reduction is a bonus from it.
Yeah, I like that. And, I use like you said, my protein powder is more plant-based now.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing for me. Like if I was competing, whey, casein, things like that, I would mix all of that stuff in there. My goal was to get all of these carbs and proteins inside of there. And it was, I found out through trial and tribulation, through a lot of trials and failures and things like that, when I went in to go get blood work done, and they said, hey, your heart is too big. Your heart is too big. And they associated with it. And then my kidneys was having a hard time breaking down the protein powders. So it definitely made me change my mindset and what I put in, what I put into my body, because the last thing you want to do is shut down your kidneys, because then it has to filter itself through a different avenue, and you're not going to, your bodies have a hard time recuperating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
now, with that being said, what can people find you at?
People can find me they can get the book on Amazon. They can find me on Facebook. So they can, put my name up there. It's David. And the last name is like 3 words, me, M-E, Dan, D-A-N-S-K-Y. Just make it sound Polish. and then they can also go to the website, which is stopdieting.co.
Mhm.
So it's stopdieting.co. And if they go there, and they can get a free downloadable PDF of a little booklet I created called The Moral of the Story Is. And
Okay.
what I did is I took about 17 stories with life lessons and applied those life lessons to eating healthier and having a healthier lifestyle. And people like it because the stories are very short. They're maybe a page, page and a half.
Okay.
And it's only about 32 pages.
Okay.
So one of the stories in there that I like to refer to is the pot roast story.
Speak my language.
Pardon?
I said, you speaking my language. You
Yeah.
said pot roast.
So,
Right? I was like,
there's a lady who was hosting a dinner party for her friends, and she made a pot roast. And one of the guests says, "Oh, this is delicious. Can I get the recipe?" And the host says, "Of course." She writes it down, hands it to the guest, and the guest looks at it and says, "Why do you cut the ends of the pot roast off?" And the host says, "I don't know. That's how my mom taught me." So the host is curious. So she calls her mother the next day and says, "Hey, Mom, why do we cut the ends of the pot roast off before we cook it?" And her mom says, "I don't know. That's how your grandmother taught me." So the host calls her grandma and says, "Hey, Grandma, why do we cut the ends of the pot roast off before we cook it?" And her grandmother thought for a minute. She says, "Oh, because when I was first married, the pot I had was too small, so I had to cut the ends off to make it fit." So the lesson of that story is sometimes we eat certain ways and certain things because that's how we're taught without questioning why.
I like that. You told me that one time before when we was talking. I laughed my butt off too, man, because it was so normal, to cut it down, but we don't ask. We don't ask why, right?
Right.
So we just do it because that's what we see,
Exactly.
And things like that. And so if you had any words for anybody out there, what would you tell them?
Start now. Drink more water. We all procrastinate. We all make excuses. I'll start on Monday after the holidays, after vacations, after my birthday, after company picnic, whatever excuse you want to make after we go to a restaurant with our favorite restaurant with our friends. It's just don't put it off. Start now and drink more pure water and avoid the soda, diet soda, fruit juices, and milk. Orange juice is not healthy for you. It's all sugar. It takes 4 to 8 medium oranges to make a glass of orange juice. So you're drinking all that sugar without the fiber and pulp and everything. That's even if they add extra pulp, it's not enough. And what I usually ask people is, would you eat 4 to 8 oranges at one sitting? And most people say no. Well, then why would you put that much sugar in your body with one glass of orange juice?
That one's deep right there. That one is deep. I love that. I definitely love that. And for everyone who's going to be tuning in, his links will be down below. So if you guys are looking for healthy alternatives of trying to lose weight, go buy his book, go to his website, check him out, ask him questions. This man is a wealth of knowledge, man. And it's I always like we said the last time, man, I enjoy talking with you. I really always enjoy talking with you. I look forward to more conversations as well. So what do you got coming up that people can look out for?
Just doing the stop dieting, start thinning. They go to a Facebook group. It's free to join. And I post a lot of great content and information. I read a lot of articles, and I vet the articles. I go through to make sure they're accurate and truthful. There's a lot of misleading information out there.
Yes.
And that way the person doesn't have to, do a lot of Google researches. They can direct message me. And again, the Facebook group is not to promote or market or sell anything. It's just for information and support and to encourage everybody else.
That is amazing. Well, David, thank you for being on the show today. And everybody who's going to be listening, his links will be down below. So we're going to make it easy for you to get in contact with them. Don't struggle with weight loss anymore. There's a lot of misinformation. If you guys like this, check them out, please. And with that being said, you guys, thank you for tuning in and allowing us to support you. And as always, we love you. Keep your head up. And just remember that you don't have to do this alone.
And thank you so much, Tony. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dave, for being on. Guys, we're out.